Well, it's another edition of Don and Steve Plus. We're glad that you're here. And it has been a minute since we actually were in the studio together. So I'm glad we got the chance to connect, but we're not in the studio together today. You like took off. We did
No,
our last podcast recording and you just like bolted out of town. Where'd you go?
Michigan. West Michigan. I'm over here.
Michigan. What's in Michigan?
Well, my daughter now lives in Michigan, and the bestie lives in Michigan. So I have lots of reasons. Plus, so when we married, I think I explained this maybe in a podcast, but I forget all kinds of things. When we married, we moved to Holland, Michigan. So for us, it's still our heart town, and we have a lot of friends up here. I come as often as I can, which isn't quite often enough. But now with my new schedule, really, I had this plan before any of my schedule changed for me. And I just kept the trip because my daughter's birthday is coming up soon. I wanted to see her. I wanted to come up and hang out. It's fall in Michigan, so it's beautiful. I had to bring sleeves. Look, I didn't know what to do. It said 70 degrees, and I'm like, how do you dress for 70s? I forget every time.
You still don't need sleeves in Middle Tennessee where we are normally. It is nice here. But you mentioned fall. Like, are you guys getting outside and enjoying the fall? Like, are the apple orchards and things happening there?
Oh yes. Oh yes. That was the first thing daughter and I did is we took off for one of the orchards where we took her to pick when she was little. And the fun thing
Nice.
is one of the owners, she is always on property. She happened to be there. We pulled in and I said, Alex, that is Miss Sandy. And sure enough, we got to talk to her riding the golf cart again. It was just so sweet, even though it was like, 24 or 5 years later. It was just great to see her. And I'm so glad we did because they sold the orchard. They won't be there next season. We got to see her the last season. She's going to be part of that.
Nice. All right. I got to tell you, one of the things that I have learned over the past week or so is that orchards here are not the same as orchards there. When we lived in
I've
Chicago, we
not
would
visited
go,
one there. Yeah.
oh, they are nothing like they are up north, like Michigan, southern
Okay.
Wisconsin, northern Illinois. Amazing apple orchards up in that area. Go out and pick. We heard about an apple orchard and decided to take the kids there last week. And it is so not
Oh
Michigan apples.
no.
It is so
Oh
not
no.
northern Midwest apples. We
Well,
were just like
Tennessee
so
apples.
disappointed. Yeah,
Oh,
they're not. It's not good. So if anybody's watching this, listening to this in Middle Tennessee, and you know of a really good apple orchard, like can you go to our Facebook page, Don and Steve Plus on Facebook, and let me know where the really good orchards are in Middle Tennessee? Because I got to tell you, what we've tried so far have been disappointing.
I I have not been. I've heard there are orchards, one or two in the area where we all live, and I have not yet been. I have another friend who's from Holland, Michigan, who's gone to one of them, and she goes, I mean, it'll have to do because it's what we have. Yeah, what was it? Like, was it smaller? Were the apples not good? What was the deal?
It was smaller. You could go out and pick your own apples. It was just one of these things where you could go and you could buy apples fresh from the orchard. However, you just got to buy a bag of highly overpriced apples. They had
Mm,
apple
mm.
cider and all these apple products that were there that were literally three times more expensive than what we you could buy them for in the grocery store. Like so, as we were there, and we were there as part of a homeschool co-op field trip, and so as we were there, we are looking at the gallons of apple cider and all that. We're like, "Are you kidding me? No way!" We stopped and picked up multiples of those on the way home, so that the kids could still get their apple fix
Yeah.
without having to pay those prices. Yeah, it was crazy.
I am trying to remember. We got all kinds of apples at the orchard here in Michigan. I am trying to remember if we paid $1.39 a pound,
Hmm.
and we got the Honey Crisp, and we got Pink Lady, and we got all the things that at the grocery store cost an exorbitant amount of money. And I think for for all of it, because we got a whole big bag, because I can't bring any home this time. But we got a whole big bag for like 20 bucks. We were so
Nice.
excited.
Yeah, no, that's
So
great.
excited.
If you could bring some home, I'd say bring some back here because
I
they are
know.
not the same down here as they are up there. So no, that's good.
Well,
But
next
man,
time
what's been the
I'm going to
highlight?
drive.
What's been the
Yeah,
highlight of the
well,
trip so far?
the orchard definitely is one of those highlights because it's not only aesthetics and you get great apples and you get to go pick, but it's also just nostalgia for us. So those two things are always near and dear to my heart. It's been beautiful. We've had rain, but then getting to spend time with friends and getting to connect with people that I don't always get to see in person, that's just been a joy. So that power present, Steve, still very much alive and well here amongst our people in West Michigan. I can't think of any firsts really that I have experienced while being here, but I understand that you have a first.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, do
So
tell.
I,
I've been
well,
waiting and waiting.
there's a couple things that happened. So this past weekend, for the first time, our family, well, three out of the four of us, fought in a taekwondo tournament. And so that was a first. So here's the other first. That was on Saturday. On Thursday night, there was at our gym where we go. It was going to be all just kind of preparation, lots of sparring, getting ready. If you've never been in the tournament before, they're going to kind of walk you through what it's like and train you so you're ready to go on Saturday. And so I'm like, yes, I need to go to that because this is all new to me. Never done this before. So I show up Thursday night and we're sparring and going and going. And I'm trying things that I've never tried before. And everything was going okay until until I took a shot in the ribs and felt things
Oh
shift and move. And I was having a hard time breathing by the time I went to
no.
bed Thursday night, throughout the day on Friday, Saturday. And I'm telling Susie, I'm like, I'm not sure I can fight in this tournament on Saturday. I'm not sure I can do this. She's like, oh, you're fighting. She's like, you're doing this because she didn't want to do it. And this was like a whole
I was
mental
gonna
thing for her.
say,
She's
I
never
think
done this
I told
before
her the
either.
same thing. Mm-hmm.
She's yeah. She's like, I need to do this to kind of get over the mental hurdle of going to compete in a tournament. And because she was going to do it, she's like, oh no, you're not getting off the hook. You got to do this thing. Well, the time keeps going and we're getting closer and closer to it. She's seeing how much pain I'm in. And like, I'm walking like I'm 104 years old and breathing
Oh
is,
no.
it hurts to breathe. Right. So finally she's like, you don't have to go. You don't have to fight in this thing. I'm like, oh yes, I do. I'm like, I am not. After you called me out that I might not be able to go fight, I am
Ay,
going to
ay,
be
ay.
there
Here
on
we go.
Saturday,
Here we go.
even if I get my tail kicked, I'm gonna show up and be there. So with a lot, probably I shouldn't even say the number, with a huge amount of acetaminophen flowing through my system, we showed up on Saturday, and Andrew, Susie, and I all fought in our first Taekwondo tournament on Saturday.
I want to applaud. I really do. But there's something in me that is having a very difficult time. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Susie, Andrew, woo, woo, so proud. What are you thinking?
I'm
You.
thinking protect the ribs and show number one that you push that you play through pain. So I'm
Can you hear
thinking in
my
the
eyes
back of my
roll?
mind, I am showing my kids that just because you get knocked down, just because you get hurt, doesn't mean that you don't get back up off the mat and you go again.
Mm, it's a great metaphor for life. Did you end up cracking a rib and puncturing a lung?
I did
Did you show
not.
your kids how to do that? No?
I no, there was no
No?
cracking
Okay.
rib and puncturing.
I'm
There
so
was
glad.
definitely some serious bruising, but there's definitely
Oh.
possible dislocation. But if you go to the
Possible.
doctor, the only thing they're going to do is tell you rest. It takes time. There's
Yep.
nothing they can really do anyway, and so just rest and take it easy. So I loaded up on the pain relief, the acetaminophen, did the thing, got through it, went home, and like, okay, that's it for a while. I'm not I'm not going to let anybody kick me for at least a couple weeks now while I recover.
Ooh. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, congratulations to all y'all. That's big stuff. Taking a step into something you haven't done before. I still not sure what I think about you, dude. I don't know that that was wise, but you did it. Hey, yes, it is. Yay. So how? Okay, what does that mean? You all medaled. What does that mean?
It means that in Andrew's division, and we are all either green belts or blue belts. And so in the green blue, because those are the two that they had lumped together. In Andrew's division, he finished third amongst all the kids. In my division, which is men over the age of 35, I finished second. And Susie won her division. She
I
got
knew
first
she
place.
would.
So,
I had
right?
no doubt in my mind. The one who didn't want to do it, and she takes first place.
Of
Hmm.
course, right?
Not
He had to
surprised.
know it would work out that way.
Not surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Me? I won first. Me? Yeah, girl. Uh-huh. I'm
Yeah.
sure she did her thing, as did all of you. Congrats. That's excellent.
Well, thank you. It was fun, and I'm glad we did it. And I actually am kind of looking forward to doing it again, but hopefully next time it will be without pain as I breathe. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
But
how
it
does
just
that work? I
reminded
mean,
me,
are you
though,
trying? Yes.
that sometimes, things don't go as expected, and you have to push through and do hard things.
Yes. Yes, you do. Uh-huh.
All right, what were you going to
We,
ask me?
mhm. Well, I wanted to know something about Taekwondo because I've probably seen it in the Olympics. I've probably seen it in a match on television, but not paid any attention to the details of what this sport entails. I am curious when you are sparring like this and you're in a tournament, what is the goal? How do you win? How do you get a point? Is it you have to clock somebody or what?
Yeah, so the type of tournament that we were in was a double elimination, and it was, if you can think of your torso, so from hips up to shoulders, make that box right there. The front half is the only part that can be punched.
Okay.
So once you get it to higher advanced belt levels, you'll be able to punch in the head. But where we're competing, we're not punching in the head yet. So 1 point for a punch to the body, 1 point for a kick to that same area, 2 points for a kick to the head. So no punching to the head yet, but 2 points to be able to kick to the head. So, and in my age, with my flexibility, yeah, because I mean, I'm 50. How often do you think I'm going to get my foot high enough to actually kick somebody in the head? It doesn't happen very often. I mean, hold on. Stand right there. Can you bend over just a little bit? Okay, lower your head. Okay, all right, right there. Don't move. Don't move. Yeah, yeah, right.
Your head as long as you don't move. Yeah, I'm glad nobody did a sweep like in Karate Kid where they were trying to take out the injured part of your body and take you down just because they knew you had bruised ribs.
Yeah, nobody knew I had bruised ribs except my family. So I was, but it did make me have to switch fighting stances because normally I'd fight, left hand, right foot forward, but those are the bruised ribs. So we
Mm-hmm.
had to try and adjust and
Mm-hmm.
fight the other way. And yeah, that was a little awkward, but we made it. We made it.
That, yeah. Steve, the person I immediately thought about when you were talking about doing hard things, it wasn't any of the things that we've all been through lately, but it was Abram. You remember in Genesis? I mean, we know all the story now, but Abram didn't know that then. He was in a pagan land and he was, sitting there when God said, "Hey, Abram." And I can't help but think with him being in a pagan land, he had a lot of negative influence, pagan influence, and yet he knew that was God's voice. And God said, "Abram, get up and go, and I'm going to show you." And so he packs up everything he knows and he does that. That's a hard thing. Talk about faith and walking by faith and trusting that the voice that's speaking to you is the I am, the one. But even Abram didn't know that yet, and he just got up and went. I find that like one of those hard things that is incredible.
Yeah, I love looking at Abram, who God eventually gives him the name Abraham, because as you point out, God in a sense plucks him out of obscurity. Here's this guy who's an idol worshiper and reveals himself to Abram and says, "Go," and Abram goes. But then we see his up and down of his faith journey. A couple of times he lies about his wife, Sarai, and says that, no, that's not my wife, that's my sister. And he tells half truths and he does these things. And, his faith at times looks so strong. And at other times you see his frailty, the fear, and the humanity of Abram. And then eventually, God gives him the name Abraham and he gives him the promised son after many, many years. And then we probably all have heard the story of where God asked him to sacrifice his son.
Yeah, and those hard things, and if we kind of can detach ourselves from Scripture and the people who are written there, and yet if you'll kind of take a minute and put yourself in their shoes, in their sandals, in their bare feet, whatever they had at the time, and you start to think about how you would have felt if the Lord was saying, "Hey, get up and go. I'm going to tell you when, I'm going to tell you where, when you need to know." And how those steps of faith that does apply to our lives even now, and how he's not going to go against his word, and we can start there, always going to the word to get the next steps for any day, whether it's something that's going to be new and we're uncertain of. But those hard things, like what you did, working through bruised ribs to go and compete in a tournament, which I'm still not so sure about, but you're on the other side of it now. And we know by looking back that even those hard things in life, we can look and see where we're on the other side of it now, or we're in the middle of it. But we know because we're God's kids, we have that relationship with Him through Jesus, that He's with us and He's not going to leave us. It's good to talk about hard things. It's great to celebrate the high points and talk about the low points as well. We're just glad you're here. It's Don and Steve plus one.